thank you very much. I want to really encourage every one of us that we should try as much as possible to just practice some of the tips that we give to them. Just practice them, and you're going to be getting results. I think I've mentioned it here a couple of times. We've been seeing people with testimonies and testimonies. I can't be sharing everything here, so that it won't look like one is trying to manipulate things. But these are very real. So some of the things we're sharing are things I practice personally. And then I've seen a lot of clients that practice them and they are seeing tremendous results. And when you see something like that, it encourages you. So it's important that we try as much as possible to put these things into practice. I taught you the breath work before. And some people, it's very easy. Sometimes we disregard some things that are easy. We just take them for granted. It looks like, because they are easy, they will not work. But that those tiny things or the little things, that's where you see tremendous power. Those little things, you do them, it's like a continuum. If you want to draw from black to white, from here to Ibadan, there's a line in Lagos is white, and then in Ibadan it's going to turn black. Discover that if you travel from here to Bega, it will still be white. You are not going to see any change until maybe you get to the bypass. If you're going to east where you bypass, you see that it's not going to be turning maybe gray, from white to gray, because you're already on the way. That's the way it is, what we teach. They don't just walk overnight. It works with time. It's a gradual thing. So I am encouraging everyone, all the tips that we give, you go to WhatsApp group. I know a lot of you that are here, you are in that WhatsApp group. Just some of the tips that we give, just practice them, and then you're going to see results. Let me share my slide now. Okay. Thank you very much again for joining. And this is the topic we're going to be discussing today: beyond band-aids, why we stay sick. Remember, we talked about the band-aids before, where we're looking at why people still are sick. And in that conversation, we looked at the lies and conspiracies in healthcare. We looked at a lot of things. We looked at the cholesterol hypothesis, how they have lied to you that eating cholesterol will cause you heart disease. And I think I shared with you that it's a blatant lie. And then I gave you proofs, scientific proofs, some of the literatures that have been studied over time and researched over the years. I'm not just looking at empirical evidence from me, because by God's grace, I've seen people whose heart disease have disappeared, not one, not two. And I didn't ask any of them to stop eating red meat. They were eating red meat and they had disease left. So they were eating eggs, had disease left. So I didn't want to just base the conversation on my own empirical evidence. I just wanted to base it on science. So that's why I gave you all the proofs. So today we are going to go beyond that. Why people remain sick. Okay, so let's go. Say the band-aid economy of health. I know some of these titles might be funny. There are a couple of inconvenient truths that we know. We blame the genes. Meanwhile, we are leaving out the triggers. Okay, we silence the symptoms, but diseases remain unchanged. We know that. We want to maybe have high blood pressure now, take medicine, blood pressure will go down. Tomorrow is going to come up. And then the problem is that it's going to be getting worse. So those are inconvenient truths that nobody is talking about. We're bringing down the numbers, but patients remain unwell. We can say statistics, so this is what statistics is saying. Numbers are going down. But these people still remain unwell. We are hooked in symptom trap. and we miss the why. So basically, what we do now is symptom suppression. That's in healthcare. And you should understand that we're looking at all this in the context of chronic diseases, or in quote, what we consider incurable diseases. So that's the angle from which we are approaching this conversation. So if you look at it like that, you discover that they'll tell you they are not curable. If I give you an example, in Nigeria, apart from malaria and infection, there's nothing else that is curable. Every other thing, what do? You just manage. So the question is, when do we go from management to reversal? If everything has to be, we'll manage it, we'll manage it, we'll manage it. Right. So this is where the issue is from. So I'm going to look at how the current healthcare paradigm, how do we diagnose diseases now? Okay? About 500 years ago, there's a man called Vesalius. He was the first to describe the anatomy of the human body. So he was the one to look at brain, look at, brain neurology, look at the heart and the blood vessel cardiology, look at intestinal tract, say gastroenterology and all that. So you see all the ologies. So he was the one that did that. And the reason is human beings were able to, understand things when they are broken down into tiny bits. That is the reductionistic approach. However, the corollary is unproven in the sense that the human body functions as a whole. So when you begin to break it down into those tiny bits, you are not going to get the real issue. Let me give you an example. Let's say somebody has heavy metal toxicity, and a lot of people in Nigeria do, because I can show you studies that are done in these countries that have linked heavy metal toxicity to even kidney issues, to heart issues and all that. So a lot of people have that. So imagine somebody has heavy metal toxicity, and then it's the kidney that succumbs to that, and the kidney starts failing. Then you are not looking at the kidney alone to look at the problem. You discover that you can look forever, you will not find a problem, because the kidney just succumbed to a systemic problem. So that is the only challenge with this. And then the Mendel's law of inheritance, that's where the genetic thing came from. I don't need to take time on that because I'm going to get to genes today. So like I mentioned, this is the approach we look at. And then here comes the treatment paradigm we have. The treatment paradigm is basically the pharmaceutical model. So when you meet a doctor, there are only two things on their mind. One is they medicate you or they operate you. So those are the two things. There's hardly, institutions you go and then the doctor will ask you, how is your sleep? How is, your gut bacteria or the microbiome, let's look at it. How is your poo? How is this? How is that? It's basically medicate and operate. And then this basically is pharmaceuticalization of health. And then this pharmaceuticalization of health is going to lead you into serious problems, because you have a disease and then you take medication for the disease. It's helping you, it's not going to cure it, it's going to suppress the symptoms. And then it's going to create a new disease that you now need a new medication for. That will create another new disease you need a new medication for. And then it continues like that. It's like a slippery slope. That's quite dangerous. I want to give you an example of this before you think I'm just manipulating things. Look at this. This is a product, see its shape there. They call them statins, the product that lower cholesterol. The essence, what I have told you before is when you take a product that lowers cholesterol, what happens? Prevents stroke, prevents heart disease, prevents all that, right? But if you look at this left-hand side, you see insulin resistance. That is, as a matter of fact, if you take cholesterol lowering medicine for 5 years, for 10 years, you likely develop diabetes. I don't think you take it up to 10 years without having diabetes. Cancer is there. A couple of other things are there. So you see, insulin resistance is one of the main issues with this, where your insulin doesn't work well again. And I think I talked a little bit of insulin resistance before, but there's a day will come where I'm going to shed more light on this insulin resistance and how it's linked to so many diseases. So at the end of the day, stroke, heart attack, they're going to come because you're using this medication for a long time. So what is going to come is what you're trying to prevent. And then let's look on the right-hand side. This is quite funny. You can laugh. You can see this thing I'm enlarging. Most of us will know what it is now. This front-end loader hydraulic system, like a caterpillar, we know that. It uses the bucket. You can see the bucket, that's what it has in front. That is what it uses to raise the load. And it works with pressure. Okay? The oil level will determine the pressure that it will now use. So if oil level is low, the pressure will be low, it won't be able to lift the bucket. But if oil level is high, the pressure will be high, it's able to lift the bucket. Why I brought this is to explain what's happening to many men. Most men cannot lift their buckets. And I believe if you're listening, you understand what I mean. Why? The oil level is low. When you take cholesterol medicine for a long time, that is one of the results you get. Why? Because cholesterol is the mother, is the precursor of all sex hormones. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they are all made from cholesterol. So when you take this for a long time, maybe that's what's happening to some men that are listening. If you have erectile dysfunction, that does not mean this is just the cause. There are a couple of other things. So there are many things we look at when it comes to erectile dysfunction. Individuals differ. So but I'm just telling you, this pharmaceuticalization of health, what is resulting into. You look at this study. Do lipid-lowering drugs cause erectile dysfunction? This is a systematic review. So if you see the conclusion, you can see that it actually does that. So what's the problem, or what's the worst damage with this, our pharmaceutical model? Is the mentality that people get from it. That is the worst damage. You can see this is like a funny way to represent this. Everybody wants pill, everybody wants surgery. Like I said, medicate, operate. You can see the queue. But look at lifestyle change. When people come, you want to administer lifestyle change. Okay, change this, don't eat that. Nobody's on the queue. Nobody wants that. And that is the thing we do, and that is the problem with it. Apart from some of you guys now that are here that, do call me. I receive a lot of calls from people that join this, and they ask a lot of questions. Most of them are not my client directly, but they refer a lot of people to me. Those are people that are ready for what we are doing. But others, they're waiting for surgery. They're waiting for pills. I remember there's a man that came to me one day in my office. He's not a Nigerian, from India. And then he has diabetes. And then the mom had a big issue that she almost had a heart attack. So they now did angioplasty. So trying to create another channel, for blood to be flowing. So he saw the money he spent. He just came from India. I think somebody mentioned me to him that he now came. And yes, diabetes, you want to cure the diabetes and all that. I said, okay. After listening to him, I just told him. So as I was talking, I said, I don't know what you eat. You're an Indian, I'm Nigerian, so I don't know the kind of foods you eat. But I'll tell you the things to avoid or minimize. He said, no, just give me medication, I said, well, I don't use pharmaceutical medications when I'm doing all the reversal and all that. All this one, no. Pharmaceutical medication, if you want, just go and buy. But these are supplements that you say, yes, give me supplement. I said, sorry. Go see my pharmacy. You see the chefs. I have people there. If you want supplement, they can attend to you. Buy. But don't come to me and say, give me the supplement and that's all. You're wasting your time. you're wasting your money. If you don't do any lifestyle change, you're not getting a reversal. It's like you are doing a reversal and then you're contradicting that with your lifestyle. And the worst thing is that there's no pill anywhere that can get to where the problem is. Where the problem is, drugs don't get there. Lifestyle change and nutritional supplements. So medicalization and pharmaceuticalization of health opens floodgates for diseases. Look at this, what I've shared now, how we manage and all that. And I'm going to share the next two slides for you to understand something. Look at from 1800 to 2025. You can see this, the vertical prevalence you see on the horizontal is showing here. Look at all this. America is number one, Nigeria, we have worldwide. These are the ones I was able to create. Look at. So if you see 1800 in America, prevalence of chronic diseases, you see, let's say about 5%. Today, it's almost 70, about 60 or so. Look at Nigeria. 1800 is it almost zero? Prevalence of chronic diseases. Today now, it's almost 30%. Look at worldwide. So about 5%, 1800 today, almost 50%. You can see how chronic diseases are growing. At the same time, why I'm bringing these two slides, just for us to understand something. At the same time, we're seeing technological milestones that we have achieved. I mean, technology is increasing. We are seeing a lot of changes, advances in technology with respect to healthcare. Industrial revolution, you see that introduction of antibiotics. They're saying the first antibiotics, penicillin, was around 1921 or so, but it didn't come to the market like everybody, having access to it until that 50s. And then vaccines came on that time. We have the Human Genome Project. We'll talk about it briefly. And then you have the mRNA vaccine, which I think was an error. That's the vaccine they used for COVID. It was actually a big error. What I'm trying to say is, despite all these advances, chronic diseases are increasing. Then there must be something wrong. Then it means that we might not be getting it right. It means we need to rethink what we are doing. Because if we're advancing and then chronic diseases we're fighting is increasing, then something is wrong. It's only a madman, like they say, you continue doing the same thing and you expect a different result. Something is different. All the medicines, all the disease, looking at it, and even the food. We ask people to eat food, yet they are getting worse. So this is my own proposed disease model. Before then, let me look at the triangle of health. You look inside, you see the genetic code. Okay? The gene is there. Like I said before, a lot of time we blame gene, but we're going to talk about gene today. That's the main thing we're talking about. But a lot of times we just blame the gene. But a lot of things influence the gene. You have the physical. Of course, you have an injury, you have a laceration, you have an accident, that's physical. You have emotional, spiritual, we know that. And then chemical, what is it about chemical? Nutritional deficiency. If I go to nutritional deficiency, in fact, when I'm going to talk about nutritional deficiency, it might take me up to 2 or 3 episodes. Because I know some people think you don't need nutritional supplement. If I show you the level of toxins alone in Lagos State, in Benin, in Edo State, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, and other cities, you know that your body is already under pressure, trying to, all the antioxidants you have are being utilized and exhausted, trying to mop up those toxins. So most people have oxidative stress. I'm not going there today. I also tell you that a lot of nutrition, there's a lot of deficit with respect to our soil. They are depleted all around the world, not just Nigeria, everywhere in the world. I can show you studies from the 1950s up to now that the soil is, depleted. There are no nutrients in the soil anymore. Not anymore like zero, but we have exhausted quite a lot of them. And minerals, for example, are natural. They are not man-made. You can make vitamins, for example, plants make vitamins, photosynthesis and all that. They make essential amino acid, they make essential fatty acid and all that. But they cannot make minerals. Minerals can only be in the soil. And I'll show you how they are depleted. So anyway, that's not what I'm doing today. We have microbial imbalance. I'll talk about that. Why most of us, all we want to do is destroy, take antibiotics and kill. And kill. We don't know that we're hurting ourselves taking antibiotics all the time. You can take it once in a long while. I will even show you how you're taking mouthwash and using mouthwash and it's destroying the good bacteria in your mouth and it can cause you high blood pressure, erectile dysfunction, and all that. Not that it's causing that, but all you're supposed to get from vegetables, you're not going to get them because that is the secondary provision that God has made because you have lost the one that is there inside with age, toxic and all that. So I'll come to all this, but today, let me first of all go to what I look at, my model of diseases. This is a disease, a human disease, chronic diseases. This is my belief that every disease originates from the cell and it's from cellular dysfunction. And then when a normal cell gets cellular dysfunction, there must be things that are responsible. For me, there are only two things. One is deficiency. Just like I mentioned before, nutritional deficiency or deficiency in certain things, like you are not getting sunlight is deficiency, or certain microbiomes, certain good microbiomes, keystone, call them keystone that we have lost over time, but deficient, and you cannot do certain things. And then the other thing is toxicity. Toxicity in the environment, like I mentioned before, a lot of toxic air in Lagos, PM 2.5. As a matter of fact, it's supposed to be 10 zip micromole or so. That is the normal range, 10. And then some places in Lagos have 100, some have 70. The lowest you find is around 48, 50. I will show it to you. I can give you even a live listing from LASEPA, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency. You see how it's changing. I can give you for a week. You see it from there. I didn't manipulate it. It's theirs. So having said all this, we'll now proceed to look at how do we travel from health to sickness. This is like expanding the previous concept of how the origin of disease, the root cause of disease. So it's the same thing we're talking about. So when you're traveling from health to disease, the road is winding, it's not straightforward. And I'm going to represent this better. But before then, I want to say that precision care starts at the root. You cannot have precision care when you don't look at the root cause. And this is why, like I said, I'm going to represent all this with this particular tree, okay? The tree is not complete. I was in a hurry, so I couldn't put in some other things. I wanted to include some other things, but maybe later I'm going to give you a better tree, and I'm going to put in a couple of other things. This is in the new book I'm writing by God's grace that is going to come out in the next 2 months or so. The book will be out. So you can see at the leaves, those are the things we concentrate on. You have diabetes, take this diabetic medicine, it goes down. Tomorrow, it comes up again. Then the trunk represents a lot of things. Like I said, I didn't put that one. But when you go down to the roots, that is where the issues come from. Toxicity on this side, I have deficiency on that side. You can see that a lot of people are deficient in a lot of nutrients. It's quite alarming. I'm being honest with you. I have used only nutritional support to correct diabetes. Only nutrition for some people. So you discover that most of those people, they're actually chronically deficient in some nutrient. It might not work like that for everybody. Some will have to include a couple of other things. And one of the challenges we have in this country is we're not able to do certain tests been trying to see how we can bring in some tests into Nigeria, but it has been a little bit difficult. Most of the labs don't do some of those tests. Okay, so putting all this I have said together, what's the best way or the approach to health? The approach is whether you're sick or you're healthy. The approach is create health, not suppress symptoms, not manage diseases. That is just the best approach. Because we have seen people that think they are well, but they are really sick. You can even go for a test, and the test will say you are okay. You know, you are given a clean bill of health, and you are happy. At the end of the day, you're sick. I'll give you an example. I did a talk in my church with the group they call the Crown of Glory. And then I was able to get, the data. I didn't put it here. And it was about this footballer called Tiote. Some people listening to me might know him from Ivory Coast. He left, he was very popular in Newcastle. He spent a lot of years there. He left there February 2017. And I showed them the news that carried that he did his medicals. You know, when you're moving from a club to another, you have to do your medicals to certify that you're okay. He did his medicals and he was certified okay. It was published. That's February. March, April, May, June, 4 months. That same year, he had that attack while training with the new club. So can you reconcile that? And these are people that use sophisticated equipment to do all their whatever. So that shows you that no matter what the test is saying, you have to create health. Don't wait till you're sick, because even you might be sick right now. So this is what I'm going to just discuss in the next few minutes before we end this podcast for today, the role of gene. I know most of the time we blame the gene. We're blaming the gene for what it has not caused. And this approach, you remember the title, Why We Remain Sick. That's why I started with the way we approach our diagnosis, the way we approach our treatment, the way we approach everything. Then I'm looking at why we blame our gene. And then later, that tree I showed you, we're going to exhaust everything. We're going to teach everything inside into, to the minutest detail. So if you're joining, you know that in the future, you're going to hear all those things. So it's not a problem. But we'll just take it one after the other so that if you hear something and you understand it, you know how to apply. And why am I going to emphasize the gene? There are some of you that might be listening to me now, or some people that will watch it online, that you think gene is your problem. And then you now give up. It's in my gene. It's in my family. My great-grandfather had diabetes. My father had diabetes. Me, I have diabetes. It's in my gene. Type 2 diabetes, there's no gene. I want to make a statement that might shock you. There is no gene, just listen, that causes type 2 diabetes. I mean cause. I didn't say associated. There's a difference between cause and association. When you say association is like predisposition. You know, that gene predisposes you to having it. It does not cause it. But let me go further. So this is what we have already, or we believed before, the concept of genetic determinism. What does it mean? It means the genes can turn on and off at will. You know, it will just turn on, and then you become sick, or you can turn off. That's what we believe, that genes determine the characteristics of our life. Of course, genes do determine, but the first one is not right. Emotions and behaviors also attributed to genes. Look at the last one. See, this implies that we are victims of our heredity. That is what we think, that we are victims of our heredity. And there is nothing that is further from the truth than this statement. We are not victims. The gene is a gift from God. No matter what it is, let it be MTHFR or let it be whatever, it's a gift from God. I know some of you will say, what if I'm a sickler and all that? I will get to that. It's a gene, but it requires you to have appropriate behavior. That is what I'm talking about. So, does it mean the gene does not cause anything? No, that's not what I'm saying. We have, assumed that most chronic diseases, if not all, because if you go to hospital, arthritis, oh, your great-grandfather, blah, blah, blah. Yes. So all these chronic diseases, we're tracing them to genes. So we are believing, oh, it's in my family, so let's manage it. But you know what true research has shown? That even most diseases that are caused by gene, it's less than 2%. I give example, sickle cell anemia. That's what we all know. Say sickle cell. So that one, you don't need any permission. Once you have that, genotype, SS, it will cause the disease. It will cause, so it's straightforward. It's as simple as that. You don't need to do anything. Yes, there might be some changes you can do to manage it, but that one is cause. That is what we're saying, that it's about 2%. The other one that we're thinking is cause is not true. It's only predisposition. It's only predisposing, to you to that condition. And the way you manage yourself, your lifestyle and all that will determine whether or not you come down with it. Even the BRCA gene, breast cancer, and there's one popular actress that cut off her breast because she had that gene. If the gene causes it, why is it that it's about 50% or less of the people that have that gene that have the disease? Because if the gene causes it, 100% of the people that have the gene will come down with the disease. Simple. You remember when we talked about cholesterol, when we were looking at the cause, for something, we said for A to cause B, we said that A is sufficient. You remember? A is sufficient and necessary. Those are the two conditions. So you don't need any other thing to add to A. A is enough to cause it. And then A is necessary. A has to be there for B to occur. So, but when A is there and then 50% of the time B happens, it's not causation. That is correlation. That is just what I'm trying to say. So there's a project that was done. We call it the Human Genome Project. It happened between 1990 and 2003. You can see all the flags of the countries that were involved in that participated. All they wanted to do was to do gene sequencing. So gene sequencing is, let's know. Okay, before then, look at what happens. They feel, okay, you can take a swab, just take a swab of the mouth, the ear, take any swab, and then take it to lab, and then it will give you results. It will now show you the gene that is responsible for a particular disease. That was the assumption before this. But do you know what it discovered? Discovered that we have over 100,000 proteins, okay, enzymes. Some things that can go wrong. Say this enzyme is not working well, this protein is dysfunctional, this one is happening in the body linked to certain diseases. We have hundreds of thousands. Meanwhile, when they sequenced the human gene, it was just 23,000, about 20 on average, 23,000. And that is like that of the earthworm that we know. So it looked like, genetically, humans are not that complex. So that was a big blow to that mentality or philosophy they had before. And people have to start changing their minds now. So this is not what we expected to happen. You see? So that's one of the things that actually crashed this concept. And I'm going to show you more. So that shows that diseases couldn't be attributed to specific genetic defect. All right? And then this is another experiment. Before, this experiment has been there for many years. It was actually carried out in 1967. Sorry, I didn't put it there. And by a biologist called Bruce Lipton. I think his man is still alive. He carried out this experiment. And what he did was, the stem cells. All of us started with stem cells. I believe we all hear about stem cells now. People are selling stem cells, take stem cell therapy. If I have to I'm not trying to destroy anybody's business, but if you are taking on those things, I'm sorry, you're just wasting your money. It don't work. If you want to get stem cells, as in for your body to mobilize stem cells, do 2 days fasting, 3 days fasting. Your body will mobilize more than enough stem cells than you can get from even 100 million naira worth of stem cell therapy. All right. So what this man did was he took a stem cell. Like I said, all the cells of the body come from the stem cells. What they do is they differentiate. They begin to specialize into those cells. So he took one, just follow me, took one. You know, this stem cell he took has this, is one now. So it has just the gene is the same now, the same. So it's because it's one, not different. And then he put in a culture medium. Okay? Culture medium. And what happens? Every 10 hours, the stem cell will divide, every 10 hours. And then within a week, he got about 50,000 cells. Okay? Got 50,000 cells. So these 50,000 cells, he now wanted to proceed with the experiment. So he made 3 different culture media, all right? Culture medium 1, culture medium 2, culture medium 3. So he made these 3 different culture media. They are different, right? He now splitted these stem cells, the 50,000, divided into 3. And remember, these 50,000, they all have identical genetic sequence, 100%. He now cultured them in different media, so different environment, same stem cell. And do you know what happened? One of the culture media produced muscle cell, another one produced bone, another one produced nerve. Can you see? This was like a mind-blowing experiment for him. As a matter of fact, this one changed the course of this man's life. He now said, all these things were saying gene. It's not really gene. It's the environment that actually affects how the gene expresses. So what he now felt is, we are like a larger culture media. Our blood is the environment. So what is in the blood? What determines what is in blood? Is what you eat and also what you think. Because when I talk about the mind, I will tell you how thought, when you think, you focus on a particular thought, your body releases some neuropeptides. It has been confirmed by a Harvard researcher. Neuropeptides that goes into your cell and then programs, the release of certain proteins that will manifest what you're thinking. That is powerful. So basically, what am I trying to say with all this? That our genes load the gun, but it's the environment that pulls the trigger. You can have a loaded gun for 100 years. So you have the gene for diabetes 100 years. If you don't have the environment that will pull the trigger, that diabetes will not manifest. That is what we have seen. This is another way to explain this. I play keyboard, so many times this is what comes to my mind. I try to use it to explain that the gene is basically a blueprint. I know that you have these self-playing pianos now, they play themselves, but ordinarily, keyboard does not play itself. You are the one that plays it, okay? You are the one that plays. Let's assume you are singing, okay? You're singing a particular song. Your voice represents health, okay? Let's say your voice, what you're singing is health. And then a keyboardist comes and then start playing something that does not line with what you're singing. What happens? In music, they call it cacophony. It's noise. You'll be, this thing is off, this thing is off, this thing is off, right? What is playing that? The finger of the keyboardist. If we say the gene is that the keyboard, the blueprint, it's not playing itself. For the gene to express, there has to be a signal from the environment. The gene can express, or give an expression that is consistent with health or with disease, depending on the environment. the signal from the environment. And that signal from the environment is your hand that is playing the keyboard. That will determine the sound, whether that sound will line up with the voice that is going. Maybe if I had thought ahead, I should have played my keyboard and demonstrated what I'm saying, but I believe you can understand what I'm trying to explain. So that is just how it is for this concept. So basically what we're saying in summary is that instead of genetic determinism, is being replaced by the concept of epigenetic. Epigenetic is above epigenetic. So the epigenetic concept is like that hand playing the keyboard. It's above the keyboard. It's influencing the sound you're hearing. So these environments influence the expression of the gene we have. And this is an example. And that's the concept we use in treating people. When people come in, we're trying to change the environment. We say, don't take this food again. Take this food again. Don't take, and you discover that the food you are eating is not just food. You are eating information. It's sending signal. It's sending signal. It's sending signal. Like, for example, there are people that I've asked to stop. I've seen a diabetic that the blood sugar wasn't controlled at all, was reading 300 plus, 300 plus, 300 plus, 300 plus. She's even medically inclined. She did all the, new food, whatever she knew. And then she came to me and said, let me see what you're eating. I saw it as, okay, vegetable oil out, this out, that out. And within 1 or 2 weeks, blood sugar crashed. Didn't give her anything, nothing. Why? Vegetable oil, for example, you don't know what it can cost you. Or even wheat. Most diabetics react to wheat, but they stated them to keep eating wheat. Anyway, so this is the last slide. This is a trial by a physician called Dean Ornish. Took a couple of people that are, at the early stage of prostate cancer. And then he gave some people lifestyle, diet, and all that change. And then the other people were taking the normal, the normal treatment, all the chemo and all that. Then after a couple of months, we now checked both. Discovered that the people that were on the lifestyle change were doing better. Why? The cancer didn't progress as fast as the other people on the treatment stage. That's the treatment group. They had a lower PSA than the people on the treatment group. So you can see. And what they discovered that a lot of genes were either turned on or off. About 500 genes they discovered. Some were turned off, some were turned on. So what is turning off those genes and turning them on is those lifestyle, stress management, exercise, support group from different people, and all that, dietary changes. That is what it is. So, okay, so what's the summary of all we're trying to say? That many times we have blamed the gene for what it didn't cause. And that is where we get it wrong. And because of that, we are giving up. And when you give up, nobody can help you. But when you stick to it, you discover that. As a matter of fact, me personally now, I don't even believe, you go to hospital and they say this is incurable and then you're going to die and so on. So there are people that come to me like that to plenty. Maybe quarter to die. But what do? Still give them hope. We tell them that, no, don't believe that. And then maybe when we talk about the mind, some of you will be blown away with some things that your mind can do. I have experienced myself. I will share my own story. And I will share some other people's story, people that have come to me, people who have helped, how their mind, the pains just disappeared from the power of the mind. So what I'm trying to do is to encourage everyone. Somebody might say, oh, you have incurable disease, then there is we have not seen any case that somebody survived. What if you are the first? It has happened like that. I don't know if I have shared this on this program. Let me not take much time, all the time now. Oh, okay. Let me just summarize this. somebody had an incurable disease. He was in the hospital. And then they told him, you are going to die in the next few months. He said, okay. And he was in voracious reader. I don't know if I've shared it. Maybe I've shared, maybe I've not. He started reading. And then discovered the power of vitamin C. I use a lot of vitamin C. There are people that here that are treated, maybe families and all that use high dose vitamin C. If I tell you the doses, you would be scared. But does it work? It works like magic. So they started using 24 grams of vitamin C. Your daily allowance for the day is 100 milligrams. So imagine you say 100 milligrams, somebody is using 24 grams. 1000 milligrams is 1 gram. So 100 milligrams times 10 is 1000 times 24. Imagine that. Was it in the day? He started working on his mind, the power of mind to create disease. And then he made a discovery that when he laughed, because he was having serious pain, when he laughed and laughed and laughed hard, the pain would just disappear, like 3 or 4 hours. Thereafter, the pain would come back. He would laugh again. So he started collecting all the, what do they call them? Videos and all that, comedies and all that. At the end of the day, what happened? He left the hospital alive and well. This is somebody they told he was going to die. So what I'm trying to say, even if somebody has told you are going to die, and they say he's an expert, anybody he tells is going to die will die. It's up to you. If you believe it, you'll die. Like I said, when I share the power of the mind, you understand that it's much more than that. Your mind alone can even keep you alive. Thank you very much.